Do you tell yourself sometimes, finding my soulmate takes so long? I'm convinced they're walking here from another timeline. At this rate, my soulmate is probably riding a turtle through the astral plane yelling, "I'm coming, babe, just finishing my shadow work." Take your time, Gary. I've only aged emotionally by 14 years. True lovers, let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Haim with Be Love Media, and today we'll chat about the juncture between the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching and your love life. And today we'll focus on verse 20. I'm passionate about helping you find a partner who feels like a meditation, not a drama series. Because the real soulmate journey, it's more about clearing the fog than chasing the fireworks. Those of you who know my story know that I have been through 3 failed marriages. Yes, 3 painful divorces. Do you think I wanted to go through it? No. Do you think that was my intention as a 20-year-old young man wanting to start a family of his own? Far from that. But guess what? There were certain lessons for me to be had. There were certain paths I had to cross, and there was just no way to take the shortcut. Now, some of you already probably been through a lot. My heart is with you. Some of you are thinking of giving up on love, or maybe giving up on marriage if you've been married before or wanted to get married at one point. But you're asking yourself, why does it have to be so painful? And why am I making every possible mistake that I could, like I did? For me, it was mistakes in many respects. But one of the ones that I like to focus on, especially in these series and in this channel, is the inability to see red flags when you're meeting a new candidate for your life journey, a new potential partner, and you're just not seeing the red flags. It's right there in front of you. By the way, it always is. I know some of you might say, no, you don't know my story. When I dated so-and-so, in the beginning, everything was great. Guys, when I hear that from anybody that I talk to, I always do the same thing. I pause and I say, can I ask you a question? If you really, really look into it, yes, in hindsight, granted, was there a red flag or 2 that you were ignoring? They always do the same thing. They pause and they say, actually, there was that one thing or these 2 things. It's always the case. They either will tell us what might hurt the relationship if we go into one with them, or they're going to act it. And I got more examples that I have time to share, but I will share. So if you stick around till the end of this video, I promise to gift you 3 practical tips for your dating life based on this ancient and surprisingly relevant verse 20. Take a moment, true lovers, like this video if your dating life has ever felt like a spiritual obstacle course, and subscribe if you're ready to attract love that doesn't come with a plot twist. So, Tao Te Ching, verse 20, open quote. Stop thinking and end your problems. What difference between yes and no? What difference between success and failure? Must you value what others value? Avoid what others avoid? How ridiculous. Other people are excited as though they were at a parade. I alone don't care. I alone am expressionless, like an infant before it can smile. Other people have what they need. I alone possess nothing. I alone drift about like someone without a home. I am like an idiot. My mind is so empty. Other people are bright. I alone am dark. Other people are sharp. I alone am dull. Other people are busy. I alone am aimless and depressed. I am different. I am nourished by the Great Mother. Close quote. This verse, when I saw it, when I read it for the first time, blew me away, because the Tao Te Ching is a kind of philosophy that is sometimes labels paradox wisdom, right? What does that mean, paradox wisdom? To give you an example, if you want to get money, you need to give money. If you want to be full, you need to empty first, and so on. Paradox wisdom, that the way to get a certain something or get rid of certain something is by doing the opposite, the counterintuitive action. So let's see what are our 5 insights from this verse 20. Stop thinking and end your problems, close quote. Overanalyzing ruins intuition. If you're 12 YouTube videos deep decoding someone's last text, it's time to pause. Choose someone who brings peace, not puzzles. One thing is to look into, for example, is people who make you jealous. Now, they can't make you jealous. I'm pretty sure you predicted me about to say that. You choose to be jealous. But if there is constantly something that is not right, like there's some kind of a puzzle for you to figure out, you might not need that kind of experience as your next relationship. How about somebody who is simple in their communication? They're fairly direct in their communication. Oh, when they're quiet, it's just because they're quiet, not because they're hiding something from you. And yes, sometimes it takes some time to figure people out. That's fine, but look for it. If somebody is too sophisticated as far as their communication style, maybe you need something simpler. Maybe you need somebody predictable. If you don't know if they're going to be there on time on your next date, maybe there's something there that is not right. When I started dating my beloved Rachel, my now wife and best friend, and by the way, those of you who don't know my story, it took me several decades to find my ultimate soulmate, my beautiful Rachel, and it took me 3 painful divorces to get there. Yes, this is my 4th marriage, but I usually tell that this is my first marriage to my ultimate soulmate, to somebody who's right for me. I also say that those 3 past marriages all came from one consciousness: victim consciousness, victim mindset. And that's a material for a whole lot of other video. But it wasn't until I opened up to the idea that I'm worthy of self-love, that I am love, in fact, that I was able to attract somebody who loves themselves in a good way, not in a selfish way, that loves themselves and can love another without having a transactional relationship with them, unlike my previous relationships. So just a glimpse into my past experiences. Number 2, must you value what others value? How ridiculous, says the verse. Your soulmate may not come in the package society endorses. Forget the shoulds. Go for the soul nudges, something that feels right inside, right? Authentic love often looks boring to the world and beautiful to your spirit. I had a notion before I met my Rachel that I have to be with somebody that comes from my culture, my original religion that I was born into, my background. And you know what? I tried it. 2 of my marriages were such, and it didn't work. Now, why didn't it work? Why being with somebody who's from my background, my religion, my faith might not work? I'm not saying it never works, not at all. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. So I decided to listen to the famous vision from Mind Valley, a resource that I hold dearly and that I hold dear, and it really helped me in my toughest times. Check it out, Mind Valley. And no, I don't get paid by them. And he said that he went through a similar experience, and he realized that by limiting himself to only women from his own culture. He happens to be Malaysian. Interesting anecdote. My now wife and best friend, my beloved Rachel, is Malaysian Chinese. And I would never have thought that that's even an option for me. I thought something would be missing if I'm not with somebody from my background. Now, those of you who are committed to being with somebody from their background, go for it. Knock yourself out. I'm not judging it at all. It's suitable in many cases. But I realized that before I need somebody who's going to be from my culture, I need somebody who's going to be from my philosophy. And that's the philosophy of kindness, compassion, empathy, and not selfishness and self-serving attitude. So don't get me started on that. Number 3, I alone don't care, like an infant before it can smile, says the verse. Look for someone who isn't trying to impress, just try to connect. There's a calm power in a partner who isn't always performing or curating themselves like an Instagram post. All right, here's another example for you. Listen, some of my examples will sound ridiculous to you, but that's from my previous life, right? From the life that I lived without awareness, when I wasn't mindful, when I couldn't read red flags. But you know what? I had to go through it. And yes, it was ridiculous. Maybe you learned something from it and you won't have to go through the journey that I did. What was it? Second date with my ex, the one that I married for the third time, my third wife, and the one who gave me my beloved child. Now he's 8-year-old boy, apple of my eye. I got a big gift out of that relationship, and at the same time, it was the worst relationship of my entire life. Second date, I'm meeting her outside a restaurant, excited, getting to know somebody new. She was slightly taller. She's slightly taller than me. And she said, come here, I want to show you something. Remember, we barely know each other. And she opens the trunk of her car and she pulls out these stilettos shoes, right? Super high heel shoes. And she wears them in front of me and shows me how she towers over me if she would wear those. And she said, I did you a favor and I'm not wearing those because you're shorter than me. Now, at the time, I thought it was funny. Listen, I'm a guy who was all about humor. But in hindsight, I realized that it was coming from a different place, knowing her intimately now and knowing how she operates and what's her MO. There was something there that was almost attempting to show that in some way she's better than me. And sure enough, that relationship turned to be a competitive relationship, and that's not a good sign for a relationship. Yeah, there is healthy competition, but a love relationship should actually be our haven. Should be the one place where we don't compete. Or maybe we compete at our jobs. Maybe we don't have to, but it's very common, right? But in a relationship, in a love relationship, in a marital relationship, should we compete with our partner, or should we just come from some sacred partnership? That could have been a great red flag for me to watch for. I didn't have the insight, I didn't have the foresight to watch out for that red flag. Now, does that mean I break it off right away? No, but it means I pay attention more closely after that moment. But I didn't. I had to go through a whole 9-year painful experience with that person. Maybe you don't have to. Number 4, I drift about like someone without a home, says the verse. You want someone who's comfortable in the unknown. A relationship that breathers requires two people not rushing toward a fixed outcome, but resting in the unfolding. Listen, dating is tough. And part of the reason why I'm watching our hummingbird drinking from the sage flowers that my wife is cultivating so beautifully. What a beautiful thing to see, a hummingbird right behind the camera. Sorry, distracted, but I love it. Not rushing towards a fixed outcome. So dating is hard. And why is it hard? Because it's all about performing. It's all about wanting a fixed outcome. Whether it's I want to find somebody to get married with, or I want to find a boyfriend, girlfriend, or this better have a second, third date to it. Chill. Relax. used to be one of those people. And then I realized, you know what? Can I just go into a date with the focus of, I want to make sure this person has fun with me. I want to make sure I want to be a fun person to be around, an interesting person to be around. Not interesting as in trying to impress, but making sure that my partner to the date enjoys themselves and not both of us being nervous. Trying to connect, sharing some insights, sharing some life experiences, the good and the bad, not just the good. Number 5, I am nourished by the great mother, says Lao Tzu. True love starts with self-sourcing. Look for someone who's fed from within, not someone hoping you'll fill their spiritual refrigerator. You know, when I was in some of those codependent relationships before I met my beloved Rachel, a couple of those partners, my exes, said at certain times, you know, if we ever to break up or if you died, I wouldn't be able to live without you. And even then, with my lack of awareness, with my mindless way of being, not having the deeper insights of this wisdom at the time, even then, who I was then, I actually said a couple of times to those people, my partners at the time, you know, I appreciate what you're saying and I get that you are so deeply connected to me, but I'll be honest with you, if God forbid it was the other way around, I would be able to live without you. And wouldn't you want me to? Wouldn't you want me to? Yes, it's going to be so painful I don't even want to think about it, but wouldn't you want us both to be the kind of people who have our own, are rooted have our own anchor to the universe, as Wayne Dyer said, within ourselves, and not having my anchor be in you? That's exhausting, to be somebody who needs to provide an anchor for the other person constantly. Nothing wrong with being a rock for each other, but not the only rock for each other. So, as promised, 3 practical dating tips based on verse 20. Number 1, stop auditioning. The right person doesn't need you to prove, pose, or perform. Be your weird, soft, mystical self. That's me being weird. Number 2, don't follow the crowd. Follow your calm. Just because a connection is hot doesn't mean it's healthy. Stillness is sexy too. I remember talking to some guy friends at the time when I was going through my period of looking for toxic relationships, unfortunately. And I remember as we were 2 guys talking to each other and sharing about our this date or that date, and I remember we were telling each other sometimes, oh my God, she's so hot, she's so feisty, whether she was a redhead or not. And, you know, drama queens are so hot. And I no longer think that. Yeah, I mean, it has its appeal, I get that part. But for me, calm is sexy. And it doesn't mean there's no passion there, by the way. Without going into too much details, it doesn't mean there's no much passion there. But it doesn't have to reveal itself in arguments and disagreements and being combative. Okay? It's not fun to spend a lifelong life with somebody who's constantly combative, who constantly disagrees with you, or, and by the way, it doesn't have to be constant, but it could also be sufficiently to make life miserable, right? What's wrong with being somebody agreeable? And that doesn't mean a doormat. Yes, agreeable could be a doormat, but it doesn't have to be. It could be somebody like my beloved Rachel who has opinions about stuff, all right? Great. I want somebody that I can pollinate my own ideas with. She definitely has her own opinion about many things, and she's got her wisdom, thank God. But it doesn't mean she disagrees about stuff, and she's not easily agreeable. We both are. So choose somebody who can be rooted in stillness, can be agreeable. 3, choose someone who lives slow. If they can't sit with silence or their own feelings, they'll never sit deeply with you. Watch how they breathe. It tells you more than their dating profile. True lovers, if this video helped you laugh, reflect, or reconsider that one person whose energy feels like espresso and confusion, like, comment, share, and subscribe to Be Love Media. We're building a love revolution where connection feels like home, not like homework. And remember, if your soulmate is really taking this long, they better show up with snacks, emotional maturity, and at least one Spotify playlist titled Slow Sundays with you. Be soft, be soulful, be love. See you in the next one.